Do you know how to take the bumper off your Audi SQ8, RSQ8, or all the other cars that fit this kind of bumper? I don't, but here's how I did it. Here is the SQ8. I was a designated driver the other night when, after helping everybody get home safely, a deer decided it wanted to run in front of the car. All the systems in the car actually worked really well. Never saw the deer, but luckily just barely tagged it, and no animals were killed in the making of this video, or after the car hit it, consequently. Did just enough damage to affect the grill, as you can see, but we're going to take the front bumper off and we're going to replace the grill. So you'll learn how to replace the grill and get the whole front end off the car. After that, it's about time for some service mileage, do some spark plugs and other maintenance stuff, figure out while we're in there. So, quite certain all of us know how to take the tires off the car, but in the event you don't have the service tool, you can use a pair of needle nose pliers, get on either end of these caps, and all you really do is just get in there, give it a little bit of twist, and they come out relatively easy. Aside from going and pulling these off, we want to jack the car up in the air, which we've already done, get these caps off, and that's going to help us get access to this inner fender liner that we're going to have to take off in a minute. And obviously all of these are 17 millimeters. We're going to break these free and get the tires off. Okay, and to move on to that next step, we're going to want to get this inner fender liner out. Generally, it is littered with T25 screws because you want to separate this inner fender liner, obviously, from the body, and then the underneath pan, which under body pan, which we're going to have to remove as well. But you've got some 10 millimeters. You got a 10 millimeter screw head here, nut essentially. Here, we got another one that's hiding up here where you can't see, and then these two liners, which you can't see, match. There's a 10 millimeter right here. The T25 Torx bit screws are going to be along the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to have 3 running up the side, 1, 2, 3. There's going to be another hiding up here, and then another one right there. Let me get those out and check back in. I try to make the removals real time so you can get an idea on what you're going to expect. So I just kind of do the shake and move theory to break them loose, and then you get it out. There we go. So that's going to free up a lot of the access to what we need to get to next. So I'm going to take a gander underneath here, get myself a bit more familiar, and I'm going to check back in. Okay, so next on the list is we're going to have to get this arch in here to come out. So when we go to take these fender parts out, to get these out, you're going to squeeze on either side of this tab and push in. And these, so sorry, pull out. When these are in there, these tabs right here are holding it in. When you get in there, you compress these two tabs in on here, here, and here. And with it inside, you're putting your needle nose on them, squeezing, and then pushing. And then the rest are the interference fit tabs, and it just pulls right out. Alright, so next in our chain of events is we are going to remove this T25, that T25, and then that T25. See that bolt right there? These bolts help loosen some of the tension on the bumper bracket. We're going to loosen those two. That is a 10 millimeter. That one's a 10 millimeter. And those are part of the pinch bolts that are holding the bumper in. We're going to take these two bolts out. These are 10 millimeter as well, and go from there was a screw right there. We removed it. See that screw? Come on, play nice. See that screw right there? We're going to remove that. And then remember, we removed this, this 10 millimeter nut and that 10 millimeter nut. Why? I'll show you in just a second. Okay, so our nut just fell. So what we want to do is, see the screwdriver? We want to gently pry down on this. And then right here, this tab, I lifted this tab up, and I have a flashlight in my mouth, so sorry, creates this. Then you push down on this, because you can see right here moving, and as you do that, it exposes more and more of the bumper. And these tabs are locked in. Sorry, I'm trying to do it with one hand. Locked in, and you can see the sequence where they're locked in. Okay, and I'll show you once we get it, but we're fighting to get these tabs. We took these nuts off, and then if you pan out here with the camera, we slid in here and we loosened these 10 millimeter bolts. 1, 2, 3, and then here we removed two 10 millimeter nuts. So the bumper comes in here, and every few points, this is one of them, there's a tab that slides up on the bumper. There's one right there. There's one right here. There's one right there. I have a fucking pointer. There's one right here. There's one right here. And there's that last one here. So what is that you see how some of this is jogging? You're just trying to move this enough. And if you can see it right here, right in here. You're trying to move it enough to pull that down. All these tabs, there's a tab in there. You're pulling this down. Now, obviously, it's not going very far, but it's far enough to pull this down and just get that tab to slide up. Because look, right there, it's all the way up. Right there, now you got room. All the way up. I'm gonna hold the light. We're looking at just this right here, just that tab. The bumper tab is in here right now. Boom. Look at that. It's not moving a lot, but it's enough to get the bumper out, and that's how we were able to sneak the bumper off. That's why you take those few extra steps. So, in preparation for taking the bumper cover off, we're also going to have to take up this tray here, because there are some screws holding it together. To take this off, you're going to depress the button here and pull up. That's the button right there. Push and pull up. Everybody knows how push tabs work, but we're going to pull these tabs out. Okay, so we finished taking out our push tabs, and we're going to want to remove this T25 screw right here that is across the on both sides. This side and that side, you're going to have the support bumper screw. There you go. You're going to pull that out because that is your bumper slide adjustment. So once we remove this from both sides, this bumper is going to come off. So let me get it prepped and check right back in. We're prepped to pull the bumper off. Let me just go and cover a few things. The front inspection camera right here, you're going to want to remove the clip for the inspection camera. It's not going to be ran the way that you just saw it, but I wanted to make sure you were able to see what that connection looked like. That connection is going to be an issue. You want to disconnect the water line, squeeze on both sides, and this just pulls out. There's two water lines. There's going to be one over here. You're going to repeat the same thing. Squeeze these in, and it just pulls out. So as you sweep over here, as you come over here, we pulled the tabs out, right? All these tabs are out. The bumper is sitting here. The last guide pins are going to be on both sides, and that's, move this water line, this, see, there's that last little bolt holds that in. So you got to take that off. We've done it on both sides, and it pulled out over here. So now we're ready to pull the bumper back. If you slide the camera in here, let's come in where the flashlight is. See these two connections, this and this. Makes your life easier if you disconnect them, because these are connected to the bumper. These are the power to the bumper and all the bumper electronics. Everything's pulled out. Now keep in mind, we had the deer that came up in here, and I had disconnected some electronics from them several months ago. I don't know if any of these are plugged in, because obviously they're not in this case. But at this point, we removed everything. At this point, we removed everything. The bumper is going to just come off. As long as you, all right, looks like we got something that's getting caught up. Okay. And this gets us the bumper pulled off. Okay, so we got the bumper off. We want to dig a little bit deeper. So, headlights are that next stage of deeper. So to remove the headlights, it looks like we're going to pull this access back. It looks like we want to take out this T25, this T25, this T25, and then if I had to guess, these two. And then this whole carriage and the headlight should come out together. I'm going to start pulling those out. Let's show it one more time. This is the front air dam. I'm going to pull these out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over here, and check back in. Okay, so we got those screws out. Saw this last guy hiding here, and we're just going to yank him out real quick. Alright, so we had to pull a little tension on Mr. Mile and a Half to get him out. And then the next thing, the headlight light and the airbag sensor. So the airbag sensor has a pickup in the bracket that you're actually taking off. So to get that off, well, let me pull it off the rail so you can see it better. There's a little red tab. That red tab slides out. Slide out the red tab. There's a lip. Slide out. Push in, then push down on the tab. Pull back. New cars. I love how everything comes together in a new car. 10 years from now, that'll never come out. You'll be swearing in 6 different languages. Okay. Then the headlight, which is the same thing. You can't see it, but, well, in theory, this should move. I haven't actually tested this, so this just could go terribly wrong. There we go. All right. So on the headlight, there is a red tab. I don't know if you can see it. I pushed back this red tab here, right here. This was suppressed in, right? So we're gonna pull the red tab out. There she is. What I found works, push in, push up, and then in unison, pull them back. There you go. So just show you right here, this is what that tab looks like from underneath. It won't push in because there needs to be resistance tension on it, but you're pushing down and then that moves that. All right, and in theory, the headlight should come right out. Other than getting airbag sensor wear. Okay, so it's repeat on the other side. Headlights are out. We're now at the point to where you gotta get the crash bar out. And now things are going from T25, T27 to T30. So you're gonna have, we have to get this bracket support out, and then obviously we're gonna look to get back here for these bolts in just a minute. But right here, T30, 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 and I started over on the other side. So what we're gonna do is get this bracket out here and show you what it looks like. Already took the back bolt out. And why not just have some wires in the way? Let's get that out of the way there. Well, you think I would have been closer to being done so you didn't have to sit here and watch me loosen bolts, but alright. And boom. This bracket comes off. What I like to do, because these are really different size bolts, and so I don't lose it, I tend to put their screws, I put the screws back in so that when the time comes I won't be guessing like what random screw goes where. So for the simplicity of it, I just drive these back. Not terribly difficult to figure out they went there, but something I do just the same. I'm going to get the other side off, and we're going to come and tackle these on this side. I'll check right back in. Okay, so we got out the support, and now we're ready to go and take the crash bar out. It's going to be the same thing on either side. This right here, all this does is help keep I didn't even say what it did. So we're loosening this pilot screw here, and we're going to take this out. Obviously you're going to do this on both sides. Let me point something out. See this right here? When you go and take the crash bar out in 2 seconds, you have to lift up, because this little tab is holding it in place. It's wedging it between this upper lip up here and that. So once we take these screws out, these 16mm screws, and there's going to be 4 on each side, we're going to remove those so you don't sit here and watch me run the ratchet for the next 6.5 minutes to take these out. I've decided to use a leave. Let's hop over to the other side over here. When I'm loosening the bolts, I always leave one in on each side so that you can coast the bumper off and still have something holding it. So here's, we're going to pick up, and then I got it off that little bumper. Over here it's still holding on. There it is. And then what I'm going to do, that's off. That's off. And then I take my magnet and go ahead and grab these out. Yeah, okay. Just gonna throw those on the floor. And then go ahead and the bracket will pull out. You're gonna have to fight a little bit for angle. Now we got the crash bar out. We can move on to the next section of the core support. And after I figure out what in God's green earth is going on, I'll check back in. Okay. All right, so got the crash bar out, moving along. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get the AC condenser out of the way. Then we've got the radiator behind it, obviously. Cool thing is, Audi's been doing this on at least the last, I don't know, 15 years that I can see. You can swing the condenser out of the way. There's a few cars that they didn't do that design and it was a bit of a disaster. Anyhow, back to the whole point. Right here, I have a pointer. Right here, these compress. So what you're going to do is, you're going to compress them. And then, you're going to pull out. You're going to do that on both sides. You're going to compress them. It's going to pull out. And then down here, it slots in, right? So in theory, this is going to pull back and slide up. And then you're able to just swing it out of the way and move it out of your workspace. Now this is the AC condenser, so you don't want to step on it or mess with it. There's already a hole in it from apparently some deer antler, so that's to deal with. But the next thing we want to obviously do is, I don't know that we need to remove the radiator, but what I'm going to, at least in the very least, we have to drain it. So I'm going to go and start getting set up to do that. And after I have that sorted out, I'm going to check right back in. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're getting ready to remove the core support. But if you're going to remove the core support or if you're going to remove the radiator, you have to drain the radiator. I like leaving the radiator side clip in. What Audi's done here is they've left a multi-use clamp, and what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and crimp this together and then remove this coolant line, which then we're going to go and drain some coolant. Let me jump over. Got it? Can you see it? Mm-hmm. So what we've done is we pulled the line off and we're going to drain the majority of our coolant out of the system. The best part is the second. So what we did was we pulled the lower radiator hose so that when we head back up top, all of the fluid should be out. And as we disconnect the other radiator connections, we won't have to worry. So we're going to finish draining this and then start taking off the other connections, which I'll show you in just a second. Okay, so I just took off the second radiator line. There's two of them, and then now the radiator is free on this side from the coolant connection. Just keep in mind, every few minutes as the radiator drops, you can just let it gather fluid, and then dump it. It's worth noting that while we're down here, and we're going to have to do it, that these are going to have to come off on either side. These are M10s. So this is where the core support, and you can see I already removed it back here. The core support goes and connects to the body side right there. So we've removed that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take off this hose right here. And then after we've removed that, because we've had plenty of the coolant come out, we're just going to get on here. There's a tool for this, and I have it, but for the sake of just moving along in the video, we're going to go and get this line removed and get this out of the way, and then head up top, and then we should be all set down here and ready to do the majority of our work up top to get the entire core support taken off. Let's see if this is going to come off or if I'm just going to sit here and there you go. Alright, got that off. Now let me take you up top. Let's get that top connection off. Check for any of the hoses, other hoses, lines, and electrical connections. Get this core support off. I'll check right back in. Okay, so we disconnected the coolant lines underneath on the passenger side. Here we are up here, and then there's two lines up here. There's this one, and then there's the main one, this bigger one right here, right? So obviously this one, pretty easy. You're gonna get in there, and there's a clip. Watch the clip. Clip just slid back. Ready? I'm gonna push it in, but I want you to watch the clip, because this is how all these work. That's locked in, okay? When you have it locked in, this neck won't be able to slide backwards. Now when you do any of this, don't try to take it off, because it's not going to want to come off. Spend a little bit of time in rocking it back and forth. So here's what I do. When I get to this point, I guess you don't need that flashlight, do you? When I get to this point, just so I don't have this issue, I just take the clip off. Don't lose the clip, because that'll suck. But then you're just going to work this around, putting a little bit of tension to not break the neck, because there's a rubber seal in there. And then you'll slowly work it off. And there we go. So we have this one off, right? So now the radiator has a lot more movement in it. And we're going to move that line out of the way. But then we're coming to this big one. And it's exactly what I just showed you. Right here. Pull up. So we've pulled that up. And then I'm going to show you the trick that I use. Well, let's take a second. Let's take a step back. Let's collect ourselves. I pulled this pin out, right? Well, after you're done, put it back, because it's going to be pretty hard to find if you lose it. So just push it back in, and then I'm going to move it out of the way so we can now get back to this other one. Sure. No, you don't want to play nice. Alright, so we push that out of the way. We pulled this clip up. Here's the clip. You can see this here. Now, these tend to be a bit resistant because it's been heat cycled so many times. Like that, please. So what I do, I take a really blunt screwdriver. I get it right here on the lip. See, there's a separation here. This is the radiator side. This is the hose side. I get this on the bottom and I take a dead blow. And I'm not going commando crazy. I'm just getting it on there, and I'm just going to give it a few taps. All you're trying to do is help it break the seal. You're not going crazy. You're just getting in there and helping work it back. And again, you're just trying to break that seal, which it looks like we broke because it slid back slightly. Let's see. And so now, if you can see in there, we're slightly moving it back off that notch, but it still has a ways to go. So you don't sit here and watch me do this for the next half hour. Basically what I'm going to do, you can see we moved it just with those few taps. I'm going to continue tapping and push it right off and check right back in. Okay, so we pound the hose, came right off, just kept tapping. So then you're going to move to the next part. You're going to get ready because you want to take your hood latch off. You don't need this. To get these latches off, right, this goes to the car, right? So this feeds back into the car, and underneath the dash, that's what you pull on to actuate these. We're going to pull the cap off, as we just saw, and then in here we're notating how this is run. I'm going to pull this up and pull this off, right? So now we just disconnected the body from one side. So we've just disconnected that, and that cable drives these two, which is this one and this one right here. Okay, so we've got that off. This is out of the way, and we're ready to pretty aggressively move on to the next step. You're going to take these screws out, again, T30s. Again, T30s. And what we're doing is we already went, we've already gone and loosened the majority of everything else. I'm going to leave this in there because at this point this core support is almost ready to come off at this point. So we're going to leave this here. You can see it's right here. We've disconnected this unit from our intercooler here. You can see it's moving. We're coming over here to the other side, and we're going to continue moving these T30s. We're working our way down. We're going to take this T30 out, and then we're working down here. Take this T30 out, and now this, you just saw the core support shift, right? Now, almost all the weight is on 2 bolts. So I'm going to pause this for a second and just take a quick look up top. Make sure there's not some stuff I'm not aware of before I go and pull the core support out. Again, this is that line we just pulled here. This is the body side. So, all right, I'm going to take a look at some of these. Here's one over here. Right here we got some electrical connections. I'm gonna inspect a little bit deeper, come back and check in, and we're gonna go from there. All right, let's stop. Okay, so we are 100% ready to go. Last things we're gonna do, right up here. This gets unplugged. The horn's got to get unplugged on both sides. Detach that from, it's connected to the body. You're gonna come on the other side over here. Same thing. You're going to unplug the horn, and you're going to take all the horn body attachments off, right? So we can move freely. Now I'm going to drive this screw back out a little bit, right? And then this is the, now see what's happening right there? That's the last little bit. That's it, right? This thing is going to come off, but I got to show you this first. Right here. These electrical connections are the main power. Oh, okay. These two wires plug in on the back side of the radiator. It probably wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe take the radiator out, but the fans are connected to it, and the fans are connected to the radiator. So what we're going to do is alright, there's one. Alright. No. Of course not. It's incredibly hard to do one-handed. All right. So here we go. You can see the whole core support is off, and these are those electrical connections I was talking to you about right here, and they are pretty intense. You have to slide them back on their clip. There we go. Typical pull down the tab, disconnect, and then wiggle it out, because these are in there really nice, and we've pulled the tabs, separated them. Okay, these are the fan control. All right, down here looks like this is a sensor. Okay, so we're gonna pull these out of the way, and then at this point, in theory, our whole core support should just slide out like that. Come take a look at the front of the engine. And there you go. Now we can get in there and take a look at what else we got.